This is the video Understanding 3. In this lesson, we'll begin learning about the Japanese cultural tradition. And the Japanese cultural tradition began several thousand years ago, and it's developed continuously up until the present time. And every period in Japanese history has contributed something to the way Japan is today. And that's why it's really important to understand these things. The Japanese islands used to be part of the Asian mainland. At the end of the last ice age 12,000 years ago, the ice melted and the seas rose, creating the islands as they are today. The earliest period in Japanese history is called the Jomon period. In Japanese, this is called the Jomon Jidai. Jidai means period. The word Jomon means rope pattern, and the name comes from the rope pattern that people put on pottery at this time. The Jomon period was from 12,000 BC until 300 BC. In this period, Japan had a hunter-gatherer society and a very low population. This is what a Jomon period pot looks like. And on the right hand side you can see a picture of the kind of houses people lived in those times. Basically they dug a hole in the ground and covered it with that kind of roof. The next period in Japanese history is from 300 BC to 300 AD and it's called the Yayoi period. In Japanese this is Yayoi Jidai. Yayoi is the name of a place in Tokyo where a new type of pottery was discovered. In the Yayoi period, agriculture based on the cultivation of rice was introduced from China, and the technology for making metal tools was also introduced. In this period, the population increased, and Japan was divided up amongst small clan states. This is what a Yayoi period pot looks like, and on the right hand side there's a metal bell of the kind that was made and which was modelled on things that were made in China at the time. The period from around 300 to 500 AD is called the Kofun period. In Japanese this is called the Kofunjidai. Kofun means burial mound. In this period many kofun were built, especially around the inland sea region. Most of these were small, but there are some really big ones. The construction of these large kofun is evidence of the formation of large states which had the capacity to organize the labor and materials necessary for big building projects. On the left is a picture of one of the large kofun, and on the right are some statues called haniwa that used to be placed around the kofun. At the end of the Kofun period, one of the clan states managed to unify most of southwest Japan. This state was centered on the Yamato Basin in modern Nara Prefecture, and for that reason it is called the Yamato state. So at this time there were non-Yamato people in the Japanese islands. In the north there were the Emeshi, and in the south were the Kumaso and Hayato. The Yamato state was governed by a royal family, and this is the ancestor of the present imperial family. The Yamato state began to send embassies to the Asian mainland to acquire Chinese civilization. China was much more advanced than Japan at the time. One thing the Yamato court borrowed was the Chinese system of central government. A permanent capital was established at a place called Heizhou-kyo, modelled on the Chinese capital of Chang'an. The royal family was renamed the imperial family, and government ministries were set up in the capital. The country was divided up into provinces, and each administered by a governor that was sent out from the capital. An elaborate tax collection system was created to fund the new government. One of the things the Japanese borrowed enthusiastically at this time was Buddhism. Buddhism began in India, but as it spread to Central Asia, China and then Korea, it acquired different aspects of those cultural traditions. By the time Buddhism reached Japan, It wasn't simply a religion, but it was a civilization in its own right. The power of Buddhist culture can be understood by seeing Todaiji Temple in Nara. The Yamato state was oriented towards China, but it also began to expand north into what is now the Tohoku region. The period from 710 to 790 is called the Nara period because Heijokyo was located in what is now Nara Prefecture. In 790, the capital was moved north from Heijokyo to Heian-kyo in modern Kyoto Prefecture. Heian-kyo is the old name for Kyoto. The Heian period lasted from about 790 until about 1185. In the Heian period, cultural borrowing from China declined. Japan began to develop its own distinctive culture, and for a long time the imperial court was dominated by the Fujiwara family. Heian culture was associated with the aristocrats at the imperial court. It was at this time that hiragana and katakana developed as the basis of Japanese literature. Although the Heian court was culturally strong, it was poor at governing the country. As the power of the central government declined, local aristocrats seized control of the regions. These aristocrats recruited fighters to protect their property. This was the beginning of the samurai class. By the 12th century, Japan was dominated by two powerful samurai families, the Taira and the Minamoto. When there was a dispute within the imperial court, rival factions asked for support from these families. As a result, the Taira family came to dominate the imperial court in the middle of the 12th century. Although the events I've described happened long ago, they had a big impact on the development of the Japanese cultural tradition. Key things are the growth of rice-based agriculture, the influence of Chinese culture on Japan, the formation of a centralized state, the introduction of Buddhism to Japan, the development of the Japanese writing system, and the rise of the samurai class. Now take a look at the documentary Begin Japanology, Todaiji, and then take Understanding Quiz 3.